Welcome to the Retic Rundown, where the giants roam and the legends are found. Uncoil the truth, the wisdom resound in the Retic Rundown. We're breaking new ground. From the jungle's deep to the captive scene, we control the world if you know what I mean. With patterns so bold and sizes extreme, in the Retic Rundown, we're breaking new ground. Welcome to the Retic Rundown, where the giants roam and the legends are found. Uncoil the truth and let the wisdom resound. In the Retic Rundown, we're breaking new ground. Unlocking secrets of the serpentine kings, sharing knowledge, stories, everything it brings. From breeders to keepers, we pull the strings in the Retic Rundown. Hear the echo rings. Welcome to the Retic Rundown, where the giants roam and the legends are found. Uncoil the truth and let the wisdom resound. In the Retic Rundown, we're breaking new ground. Welcome, Retic lovers. Welcome, Retic lovers.
What is happening, everybody? We are gathered here today to embark on episode 11 of the Retic Rundown. And man, we already got people in the chat. Let's see who we got. We got Boza Reptiles. What's happening? Triple H. What's up, Justin? Missy, how are you? Josh is here. What's up, bud? Brian Locks, everybody. Sky's the Limit Exotics. Jay Lunsford. This is my guy. We got Aaron Klein, Ledka, Jason Philp, what's happening? Billy, what's happening, guys? Thank y'all for joining. So I don't know if you caught my little what do they call it? A story or a video or I don't know, whatever it is, the update. But we had one that had to back out for personal reasons, and that's okay. Stuff happens in life. But we got somebody that jumped in last minute to fill in. So we got a surprise guest for y'all that y'all are not even ready for. Ben Horton, what's happening? Hey, Celeste, how are you? Good to see you guys. So anyway, that's going to be cool. Out the gate, just want to thank Mike in the background and the Herp Collectors Network for making this happen. Two, USARK Florida. Those guys out there, they're fighting for our rights every day, and Phil's killing it. Without further ado, honestly, I'm excited. I want to bring in the first guest. This is the surprise guest, so we're hitting with you right out the gate. Guys, do me a favor and welcome Eric Blick.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Thanks, Joe, for having me. Hopefully,
heck yeah, buddy. No, thank you, man. I put out a distress call and you answered the call. I owe you dinner the next time I'm in Missouri.
Hey, no problem. I know you'll be back here sooner than later, but hopefully it'll be a lot better weather than the 4 inches of snow we got today.
Man, I hope so. I was just there last weekend visiting. I flew in real quick. It was flew in Friday, had Saturday, and surprised my mom for her birthday, and then had to fly right out. But at least the weather was nice while I was there. A little chilly, but nothing bad. I didn't have snow to compete with, so I was appreciative of that.
Yeah, I think it's the last week of winter, though, because next week we're in the 55s most of the week. So I think spring is around the way.
Hey, I hope so. I've got so many snakes I need to get shipped out, and weather has not been conducive.
That's totally true. I get that.
4 inches laughs in Michigan. I'm just watching the chat. Everybody in Michigan's laughing at us yeah, right. All right. Well, hey, Eric, man, it's a customer edition, but hey, everybody loves the following. So this is your chance, your plug. Tell everybody where they can find you, buddy.
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram at the Eric Blick. My last name's Blick, and it's ERI with a C. You can also find me, Eric Blick, on Facebook. And then I also have an Instagram page where I show off the retics mainly, and it's called All Elite, ELITE Pythons. So All Elite Pythons, where probably most of you'll see me, just because I like to keep the separate accounts between my personal and my snake hobby, obviously. But as you guys know, once you post it on one, it usually goes on all three anyway, and you got to delete and all that good stuff. But I had some boas 20 years ago in college, some red tails, and then also some carpet pythons and things like that. Then I really got out of the industry for a while, and then I saw Tiger King back during COVID and got back into kind of the reptile industry. And my daughter was like, "Let's get a turtle." I'm like, "How about a snake?" And we started with a ball python, and then I found Reach Out Reptiles and have been hooked ever since. So I've got about 9 retics, super dwarfs and dwarfs from Joe and Garrett from Reach Out Reptiles. And this is my 4th year. So I'm not a breeder yet, but I am. I do have 3 females that could go next year. So I'm excited to hopefully get my first clutch and maybe 3.
Nice. Hey, I like it. So, all right. Well, next up, guys, is this guy needs no introduction. I'm sure every one of y'all know him. We love him. We love his music and his hair. Let's everybody meet Gary. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, Joe? What's going on, Eric?
How are
Thank you.
you?
I'm
Oh,
wonderful.
man.
Wonderful.
I always love you on, dude. You always bring such a positive energy. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you.
So how's California? It sounds like the weather's better than where I'm at and where Eric's at.
I'll tell you what, it's almost 70 degrees. Well, it's like probably 62 degrees here today. Still kind of hazy. We just went through our last storm. I think next week's supposed to be in the 70s. So we've got no complaints here. We just need it to warm up in the Midwest so that we can get our reptiles shipped to us on the West Coast.
Right?
100%.
Oh, I hear you. Man, that's the way it goes, though. Like, everybody's jealous of you right now that are all over here in the East Coast because you can take your snakes outside and do pictures.
The bad thing is
I can't.
it's a false spring, right? Because you know what's going to happen in about 3 weeks from now. We're going to get nailed with this out of the norm winter. That's going to hit us right before the real spring starts. So you're going to get all these flowers blooming, and then we're going to be under a foot of snow.
Hey, I remember when in the 90s they called that El Nino.
It's called normal here in California.
Yeah, right. Like, it was like all this big, I remember it on the thing, like this big wave thing, and I'm like, it seems really like the way weather works. But hey, all right,
We'll take the warm weather when we have it.
I don't blame you. Well, this is your chance. Shameless plug. Tell everybody where they can find you and whatever you want to say, bro.
All right. Hey, obviously my name is Gary Tarpley. I am on Instagram, Constricted and Addicted. I'm on Facebook. My Facebook page is more of my music stuff. But like Eric said, I slip in, music, snakes, all that stuff in my Instagram and my Facebook. And then I'm also a guitar player in a metal band out of Sacramento, which I have another Instagram page for called Nevine Guitars 1.
Nice.
Cool.
All right. Well, we got one more, guys. This happens in threes around here. So everybody, welcome someone else who also has nice weather. Merissa Cardoza, guys. What's up?
Hi, Joe. Thanks for having me.
How are you? Thanks for
I'm
coming
good.
on.
Thanks for having me.
So do you just want to take a little time, rub it in all our faces about how you can take your snakes outside and
Yeah, it's been pretty nice, but it's pretty dang cold at night when I got to sit out there for soccer practice multiple days a week when it's like in the low 40s, and I don't do good in the cold at all. So I got a heated jacket and everything.
I was gonna ask, did you get like the heated vest and you got battery operated socks?
Hey, I
100%.
I'll send you a little Amazon gift card so you can get some fresh batteries for the socks, right?
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So, well, take a minute, give us your shameless plug. Tell us where we can find you.
So really, like, I just use Instagram mostly for my snakes. MC Scales and Tails. I do have a Facebook. It's under Merissa Cardoza. But yeah, I have 9 retics. I have 7 dwarfs and super dwarfs, 2 mainlands, and they are my loves. And yeah.
I'm picking up a new mainland project at Tinley. Oh man, that's gonna be my 3rd mainland.
Yeah.
I'm starting to act like you coming to Tinley, Gary.
I'm coming to Tinley.
I can't wait, brother.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Merissa, when are you coming to Tinley?
I don't know. My life is ran by soccer these days, and it's no joke.
Yeah, I feel you. What about you, Eric? When you coming to Tinley, buddy?
You know, I might be able to do that this year because Chicago's a pretty easy flight. It's just about an hour and nonstop, so I'd be down to do that.
Man, come on. Not like
And I haven't
no,
been yet,
we
so
just gotta
that'd be a
we
fun
just gotta
little
guilt
trip.
trip Marissa into it. Have
Yeah.
somebody cover soccer and the whole crew's there.
Hey, I would love to. Sure.
Hey, you should sometime. Everybody should definitely experience it. But I want to get out to California. I want to do Pomona. I think that's going to be a cool show. I've never done it. Garrett never took me, so.
I haven't even done Pomona yet.
No? All right. Well, we'll figure it out, Gary. We'll come out. We'll go together.
Sounds good.
I like it. All right. Well, before we get started, real quick, I want to say, hey, we got World of Wilcox has joined. We got Leon, Daniel Berry. Who else we got in here? Did I miss anybody? Either way, Aaron Klein, seen you. Guys, just want to say thanks for joining us. And so here's the deal. We're about to get in. We got 4 questions for each of them. They each get 3 minutes apiece. At the end, we're going to have a little bit of time for Q&A. But y'all know the deal. This is a hard-hitting, fast-paced podcast. So we're about to get into it. And it's all going to start off with Eric. So, Eric, man, 3 minutes on the clock starts after I ask this question.
Okay.
What qualities do you look for when deciding to purchase from a breeder?
Well, I'm going to actually start with I would say, like probably 4 years ago, before I got my Retic, I was in the market for a Brazilian rainbow boa. And today, it's so much easier because of the internet and Morph Market and AI and all that stuff. So I would just go on Facebook and type in like rainbow boas, and then the community would reach out and they're like, Ike Leichner, in fact, I think he is in Springfield, Missouri. And instant connection, emailed him, really quick response. He also does carpet pythons. And so that's how I did it the first time. I think right now, with Morph Market, that I didn't know much about, but I do look at that quite a bit just to see what's out there. So I would say number one is I'd look at pricing, right? And I'd want to compare the genetics that I'm interested in. And I would want to go high end first and then look at the low end and then say, okay, I think like most of us, when we buy anything, most people fall for the middle price, right? If something's $4,000 and something's $400, I'm going to second guess myself and say, what's wrong with the $400? That's too good to be true. And it may not be. It may be a rehome, but if it's a baby or something like that, I would have to look at all those and then, do some research and look at probably 5-star reviews for sure.
Okay. So,
but I'd say word of mouth, right? Like talking to people, friends, lean on this community. All of us on that know each other from YouTube Live on Reach Out Reptiles or Facebook or any of that, ask them, find out what they think. I think that's important too. But because nothing's better than probably a referral. I'd say you can do all the research you want, but a referral would probably be number one.
Right. Okay. What about, have you ever had a negative experience buying a Retic, where it went wrong?
I would say I didn't.
Or even a different snake.
Yeah, I did purchase something before I went through Ike, and it was a rainbow boa, and it was just a typical, I can't even think of the exact website, and I probably don't want to put them down, but it was a $300 snake, and it was very popular, and I swear it was probably like a hatchling. I don't even think it had its first meal, so that was a really bad experience. I had to force feed it several times just to get it to eat. And that's what you get. I totally get, you get what you pay for sure.
Right. Okay. Got it. All right. I like it. We're close enough. I ain't going to get anything. I'm not going to get another one off. But Gary, you got the question or you need me to ask it again?
What do I look for in a breeder when I'm buying a Retic? Or what qualities?
Yeah, like what qualities?
Well, to answer that question, I think what I do is I try to establish a relationship with that person first to find out what kind of person they are. And when I got suggested to Chris McVicker from New Shed Serpents, we did a lot of talking before I made my first purchase from him on my Super Dwarf Phantom Platinum that I got from him. And he was definitely somebody that came across that was going to stick around after the sale, not somebody that was just going to sell me an animal and I'd never see him again, never hear from him again. As a matter of fact, you know, that was almost 4.5 years ago, I think, when I bought Cora. And he's planning a Retic barbecue this year, and he called me to see what my schedule was so he could schedule his Retic barbecue. And I thought that was just like way cool that he would go out of his way to contact me to include me in this barbecue with a schedule, right? And I never thought that kind of relationship would come out of purchasing a Retic from somebody. But I think that the relationship that might exist after the sale, those are the types of things that I want to look for. Plus the fact, when I buy an animal from somebody, I want them to see the animal growing up in my care. I want them to be able to see what that animal's doing, how big it's getting. A lot of people know I'm very social media, you know, what's the word, a parent, you know. I do a lot of stuff on social media. So every time I buy an animal from somebody, I'll hashtag their name. And I got that from Reach Out Reptiles. I'll hashtag the breeder's name with the hatch date so that that person can follow that specific retic's journey. And, you know, D&T Retics, I'm going to bring them in, you know. I went to NARBC in Texas. I met them in Texas. They invited me to their house. We got to, like, become really good friends. I went back out to NARBC with my granddaughter. They treated her like she was their own. I mean, just really wrapped her up. To the point where, I'm going to be very honest, I did not need a Retic from them. I didn't. But I bought one because they were just such good people. So it's almost like, yeah, I have a Retic from D&T Retics. One of the best Retics in my collection, but it's because I established a relationship with them that really means something. And that to me is like, it's after the sale. Where is that person at after the sale of the animal? So I think that's probably the biggest qualities that I look for.
Yeah, and I think that you get a feel for that for sure. You know, like off beforehand, like you said, you know, there's a lot of talking that happens prior to, and you just know, you know, or at least you expect based off where you're at, that's what, you know, you're going to feel for sure. I like it. Merissa, you ready?
Yes.
I like it. Let's go.
So the qualities I really look for is like honesty, transparency, like communication, all those kinds of things. Somebody that's going to answer any question I have, you know, not trying to be shady or anything like that, you know, just full transparency with anything. Because I feel like, you know, we're putting a lot of trust in the breeders that we buy from. I like to be able to get like photos, videos of like, you know, any animals I'm purchasing just because, I don't know, I think it's nice. But I think just one of the biggest things, honestly, is just like honesty and like trusting like who you're buying from. I don't know, just like a few weeks ago when I like messaged you about that purple GC and I'm like, hey, does this, you know, is this snake gonna keep its color when it's adult? And you're like, no, like they usually don't. So, I mean, you easily could have lied and been like, oh yeah, it's gonna be bright orange, you know, the rest of its life. But, you know, so I don't know. Those are just the kind of things like I look for, like when looking at breeders and stuff.
You're muted, Joe.
Yeah.
Thank you. My bad. She's like, thanks, you're eating my time. I got it. But no, like, yeah, you could definitely, you know, see like that snake wouldn't have kept its color. If I'd have told you that, it just loses all credibility, you know, like but it loses it later on. And I think that's worse because you go through for a long time having that expectation. So,
Yeah.
So, like, what motivates you to keep retics as a passion rather than a business for you?
Um, I don't know. It's just something that I just enjoy. It's just they're just kind of like my downtime, and you know, compared to being so busy with the kids and all the stuff that they got going on, I just I don't know. They're just like my relaxation, and I just enjoy my snakes and
Yeah. Do the kids help out with them? Or is that like,
um
nope, leave me
they
alone,
have
go
their
away?
own. They have their own. They're into the corn snakes and their hog noses. So my daughter has told me that she wants her own retic, and I'm like, you don't even mess with the 9 that we have, so you're good.
Oh,
Like mother, like
man.
daughter.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, sometimes when it's their own.
Yeah. I'm like, try to get one of ours out of the enclosure, and we'll see.
All right, cool. All right, so next question, we'll rack up. So Gary's got this one first, right? And I think he hit on it a little bit, but I'd like to hear some more on how you'd expand on this one. But how much does a breeder's reputation impact your decision to buy from them?
It really depends on the reputation. I mean, is it positive? Is it negative? If it's negative, I tend to stay away from them. You know, I am one of the least chaotic people. At least I like to think I am. So if there's something being said about something in particular, a breeder, I typically won't, buy into it. I won't buy from somebody if there's some negative feedback going around in the community. Again, I think what it really boils down to for me is that like Merissa hit on a lot of that stuff. The trust and the transparency and the communication, and I think if you develop a relationship with somebody, that stuff all comes into play. I don't think if Joe Retic seller over here is got a bad reputation. He's sending snakes with mites out. He's sending you know snakes out that aren't what they say they are. I'm certainly not going to go to him and ask him to get any pricing from him from his retics. But if this guy over here is got everybody saying that, hey, he's been great to deal with. He's got a great communication. He's going to be the guy that I'm going to go to first, start talking to him. I'm going to get that feel like you were talking about, Joe. I'm going to get that feel for him or her for that matter, because there's been some amazing women that are also retic breeders that I wish, like Jen from Mod Exotics. I mean, I would love, if I had room, I would love to add a snake from her collection into my collection because I just have a whole lot of respect for her, as well as Abby, right? Abby has got what she did with her last clutch of retics. I mean, that really touches my heart. And to me, it's like, boy, I would love to have a retic in my collection that was, bred the way that her and Jody did that. So, yeah, reputation is going to have a lot to do with the decision factor if I go and talk to you or not about, if I'm going to buy a retail company for sure.
Okay. How much, so with the fact of like hearing something, how much of a chance do you give someone to, for it's 100% like based on you, like, yeah, maybe you did hear something and it's say 50-50, you're kind of hearing one way, hearing the other. Would you go and just go with your gut then at that point, or just stay away?
It's probably going to be a gut. And honestly, if it's a gut feeling, it's usually a stay away. That's just me being completely transparent. I'm trying to think of a situation where I've been in that and nothing's really coming to mind. But I mean, I know myself, and if I got a bad feeling from somebody, or if somebody gave me some bad information, and if it's something that I really felt that might be valid, I'm going to follow through and not buy it.
No, yeah, for sure. Okay. All right, Merissa, what you think?
So I think reputation is pretty important. Like if they have a good reputation, like especially like health wise of the animals you're getting, because when you're first getting into reptiles, you don't really realize all the things that they can come with. Whether it be mites, nido, any of the diseases that
That's
snakes
true.
can carry. So, and when we were first getting into it, I did end up with a snake that came with mites, and it's a miserable process to deal with. I didn't really know about a lot of the health issues that snakes can come with. So I look at it a lot of like health wise with somebody that hasn't been selling unhealthy animals, that I don't know. I just.
No, I get you. So, all right, with reputation impacting decisions, right? What if you had one negative, but everybody else has a positive, right? Do you give that breeder another chance, or is your one negative enough? Like it could have been like an off thing.
I guess it just depends on how big the negative was.
That's
Um,
fair.
um, I don't know. I guess it just depends on the situation. I've gotten to the point in the last couple of years where I've gotten very picky on who I buy from. Like, at first you don't know any better and you're just buying whatever you see, but I don't know. So it's
It
kind
does.
of,
It comes with time and learning. I definitely
yeah.
agree with that. So, all right. So, when purchasing, what's the most important part for you? Like, uh, for the transparency. Like, I mean, obviously, overall, yeah, but like for it to be correct morph, or for you with the kids, is it temperament, um, or is
Well,
it
I
like,
feel like for sure with buying dwarfs and super dwarfs, like you want to make sure they're actually selling dwarfs and super dwarfs, which I feel
mm,
like it's definitely one of the biggest things. Um, but not really like temperament and stuff. I mean,
you don't mind the saucy ones?
yeah, yeah, all my retics, they all have different personalities. Um, so I have one that's kind of neurotic. Well, the one I got from you that was super spicy with you guys, and he's been an angel since I've had him, and he's almost 2 years old.
I
So
know he lit me up all the time,
I know I
but
was so nervous to get him too, and he's just been the best snake.
I'm glad that works out. I think it does boil down. Each retake definitely has a personality, and I tell people, I'm like, it's nice with me, spicy, and then it gets there, and they're like, it's a Hell's Angel like on wheels. But I'm like, such is life. All right, Eric, what you got?
Well, being the fact that I've kind of been in sales most of my whole life, I've always, started off as a trainer and then HVAC sales and all this stuff. It's reputation's everything, right? Um, and I try to stay away from the negatives, but when you hear something, I definitely got to check out the source. Where is it coming from? And
Mhm.
then, you know, I know there was 2 years back, and there was somebody that got blown up for just really bad husbandry. I think we all know who it was. It starts with an S, but at the end of the day, they're very well known with retics, but there were pictures and like proof, right? Like, oh my gosh, these snakes haven't been cared for, living in their own
Yeah,
feces, all that stuff. So that's a big turnoff, right? So it all depends on what is the reputation, how bad is it? Is it a personal thing, or is it, I think the biggest thing is everyone's going to make mistakes. No one's perfect. You can't always deliver 100% satisfaction. So what do you do when you sell something or you rehome a retic or sell a baby retic? How do you make it right? I think is the biggest thing. Is do they take care of you? Like Gary said, it's all about the rapport and the reputation. How do they treat you? Um, a lot of that comes down to the feeling, like you said, your gut. And then I would recommend if something does have a bad reputation, check it out. Ask the community, ask your friends that you feel you could trust, because a lot of it is just hate, and some of it could be jealousy. Sometimes the best breeders can sometimes get something negative said about them because they've got a big target on their head because they're who's everyone's trying to compete with, right? So it's like, well, they must be doing something. So it really comes down to who's the negativity coming from and how big is the
right.
negativity.
I get that. All right.
Sometimes it's something small and it was just a personal mess up, and then they're dogging somebody, and that might have nothing to do with the actual animal. It could just be some personal breeder got into it with another one, or he said, she said. But it really comes
Oh,
down
for sure.
to how does that breeder make it right if they do make a mistake. But I think most of us, like anything, if it's too negative, you're probably going to stay away from them.
All right. Yeah, no. All right. So let me ask you this: being in sales, right? Like you would obviously notice a sales pitch. Like, have you ever felt pressured into buying any of your animals?
No, I haven't from you guys, because
No, not
it's
from me. Don't bring me into this.
no, well, from Reach Out
I'm
or
just-
anybody. No, because I really haven't. If anything, it's well, I really don't need another one, but then you fall in love with the new morph, or something came out just for you, right? So I don't think most of them use sales pitches. And if it is, if they seem too desperate, then I would definitely stay away from that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you throw a sales pitch and it's too pitchy. I get it. All right, Merissa, you're up. So, what advice would you give to breeders to improve the customer experience for non-breeders? You know, like someone who's like literally just keeping. If you could like put one piece of advice out there, like I'm a keeper, I'm not a breeder. What would you give us?
So I don't know. I guess my biggest thing is just like honesty and just like open communication, because, like we're putting a lot of trust in the breeders to send us the animal that, they say they're selling, that the animal is healthy. And just kind of like for them to put themselves in the customer's shoes on
Okay.
how like we're seeing things. And these animals, they're really not, cheap too. So, it's a lot of trust, and just, I don't know. It's let's see. Just like communicating, like let's say like if we're waiting for the snakes, like because of weather or whatnot, like if we're like, hey, can we get a video? It's been like a couple weeks, like them like sending
So
videos.
if
Like,
someone said they told you no after you spent that money, right? Like, where's that going to put you at?
I don't know. I wouldn't be happy though. I haven't had that happen. So everybody's been like,
I've been
really
on
good.
the search. Like, you hear about it, and then it's like, you try to bring people on. They're like, never happened to me. I'm like, man, I got to find the people it happened to. I'm on a hunt. I want to get that. I want to get that dirt. I want to get that feedback so that we can improve it that way.
Yeah, I've
Okay,
always.
so like, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm done. Go ahead.
Oh, so like with after the sale and support after the sale, right? Like, if you say it, you got retics from multiple people. If you didn't get the support after the sale that you expected, would you buy from that person again? If they only had the snake you wanted, they were the only ones. Would you do it, or would that be like no?
So like after I bought the snake, so
Yeah,
like if they still
like
had the snake.
No. All right. So you've bought a snake from them, but then, and it's delivered. You didn't get like the after support, right, that you wanted. Now the next time it comes around, they're the only one that has that snake. Would you buy from them again, knowing you got the one already, but you didn't receive the like care you were hoping for?
Probably not. I
That's a
don't
good
think
question.
I'll really be in a desperate situation that I have to have this one snake. I mean, there's lots of beautiful morphs out there and stuff.
You're like, move
Yeah,
on, let's go.
yeah, I want to be able to like go to that breeder and be like, hey, like, if anything arises, be able to communicate with them and then communicate back.
All right, cool. All right, Eric, I know you're a future aspiring breeder, but this is the customer edition. So, what advice would you give to breeders to improve the customer experience? And you should have a good outlook on this with the sales experience you got. Give us something. Give us something good.
I think you do a good job when somebody calls in and they ask about a snake. It like at least at Reach Out or you send there and you ask about. You want to know what they're going to use it for. Is it a pet? Is it their first snake? Is it their second snake? Whatever. How much experience? But when it comes to retics, I think the biggest thing in the industry, and you would be able to tell me the two biggest questions most people, especially if it's their first one, is how big is it going to get and what's its temperament? Because unless you watch a lot about them, the overall reputation isn't good, right? Like if you just look at retics, and especially mainlands, they're all mean, they're all bitey, they'll eat you, whatever, right? And I don't mean really eat you, but their reputation's not great. And so those are the two biggest things. So when it comes to the customer service and after the fact, you really have to focus on like the bloodline. I would really want to see pictures of the male and female, right? Show me the sire and the dam. I need to know things like that. And if they're not willing to do that, then there's going to be a lot of trust issues, because I think if it was a ball python, no one's really going to care about size. They're relatively 5 foot, 6 foot for females, 4 foot for males, so many grams. But when it comes to this species, the customer service has to be there. You have to have the knowledge of the size, and then also be available, right? Because your customer is your reputation. So even as busy as somebody might be, if they don't take the time to answer the calls and you start feeling like, man, I hope I'm not a pain in their ass, then you probably aren't going to spend $5,000 on a snake with that person, right? You might spend 500, but when you're talking the money that super dwarves cost, I think as a customer, they still deserve a lot more attention and response than someone buying maybe a $300 snake. Something like, if that makes sense. I mean, I know it doesn't mean that person's still not important, but when you come to super dwarves and dwarves, they're definitely not cheap. So I think the customer expects a lot more feedback and response time faster than, leopard geckos or something like that, if that makes sense. They're not as common.
No, it depends the question though. No, now though, for me, it's like, yes, they definitely are in a different like weight class for financial wise, with retics as a whole. But I wonder now, and I want to get leopard gecko breeders on and ask them about their customer service and response time. Like at that lower level, do they get that same experience? That's a good point. I'm gonna write that down. We might have a new episode where we bring on leopard onto the retic and see what happens. I like it. All right, Gary, what you got for me, man?
Do me a favor, just one more time with the question, because I heard the question go kind of a couple different ways, so I just wanted to hear what the base of the question was.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to breeders to improve the customer experience for a non-breeder?
So I think that'd be the first thing is that make sure that the person, find out what their intention is with the animal. Because like for me, I'll tell you what, when I came back into owning reptiles, I started with ball pythons with my granddaughter. And we had this grandiose idea that we were going to make black pandas. And when I found out it was like 5 years plus down the road, I was like, no way. So I sold everything. And then, I knew at that point in time that breeding animals is not what I want to do. So when I went into my research on what I wanted for a retic, I think that was my due diligence, is knowing what I wanted. But then when I went to Chris, for instance, Kristen asked me, hey, what are you going to do with this animal? Because, maybe he didn't think about that at the time, All I knew is that I wanted a 50% super dwarf animal because I was told that they were the mainland retic in a small package. And I bought into that. And I'm very glad I did. I spent $3,000 on my first retic, my first super dwarf. Hindsight being 2020, it took Chris 10 years to make that animal. So I paid for his diligence, his time, his patience. You know what I mean, on that animal. But I think knowing then what I know now, would I have gone a different route? Maybe, because I was just looking to have this pizzazz, like this wow factor. And Chris may have been looking at it like maybe he wants to breed this animal later in the future, but that never got asked. I never brought it up. So that might be something for a breeder to find out in the beginning, and that might direct somebody to a different animal, that they purchase, because I don't know if he would have talked me out of that animal. I was set on Cora. I really was. He sent me pictures, and I was like, that's what I want right there. But maybe if for somebody else that was, hey, you know what? I have no intention of breeding at all. They might get directed to a different morph or a different type to fit the person better, so that they're not spending $4,000 or $5,000 on their first retail.
Right. Yeah, I think, the questions that a breeder should be asking to help make sure that what they think they want, especially if it's their first one, it fits that bill for them, because there's a lot of information out there for sure. But I see it daily where they think they know what they want, but they don't understand all the intricacies of it. And a good breeder should help you be able to do that for sure.
But I firmly believe that it's on the keeper. It's their responsibility to do the due diligence of researching that animal before they go asking about buying one. So if somebody was to come to you and say, hey, I want to retake, that person should have already done their research and known what they're getting themselves into before saying, hey, Joe, I want to retake from you.
Oh, no, 100%. Like, there definitely should be some research done on their end, because otherwise the questions I'm asking, they just can't answer. They're just like, nope, I want whatever. And I'm like, okay. I literally had someone ask me that earlier today. They're like, I want a breeding pair. I was like, okay. And I'm like, what do you want to breed? And they're like, I don't know. Maybe put me something together cool. I'm like, absolutely not. If you can't answer that most basic question, what you want to breed, you are not selling you retakes to breed. All right, so we're on our last one. Eric, what advice would you give to someone looking to buy their first retic from a breeder? What's your number one advice?
It's a good one. If it's their first time to buy a retic, what would be my advice? I would your number one, find out how much space can you give that retic, right? So if you're someone that you want a really big enclosure and you're comfortable with that, that could be anything you want. Dwarf, Slayer, whatever you want, right? If space is an issue, I would probably say go a male, right? Males are typically smaller. And so I'd say that would probably be the biggest thing, is how much how much husbandry can you provide for that animal? And when you think about that, how much care do you have to give that animal to? Because remember, I particularly like a little bit larger, right? Just because I think it's cooler to show off to people. However, when they go to the bathroom, it's a lot harder to clean up. And when they urinate after eating a 2.5 pound pig, it's a lot more to clean up. So I don't think you think of that when you buy it, right? You're like, oh, I can't put that thing, I can't wait to take that outside and show my friends. And you're going to get a lot more pizzazz and fun with that. But they're more expensive to feed, right? You got to think about all those things. So I think size and enclosure is number one. Number two would probably be, what size of prey do you feel comfortable feeding that animal? Because if it's a really small super dwarf, you might not ever leave large rats. But
Right.
when you get into the dwarf 25, and are you okay? Some people might get really freaked out if they've got to feed them a pig or a fetal pig or anything, or a rabbit. So I think those things are probably the most important.
Yeah, some people do have a real issue with the fact of when you switch prey items. I've seen them. They've had that. All right. Do you think the retic industry is moving in the right direction, or are there areas that need improvement?
I think it's moving in the right direction only because I feel like for your average person, dwarf and superdose is where the answer is. I don't think many people, and I've seen it, I've witnessed it, where I'll go to a reptile show and a tween one, I'll say, or let's say somebody in their low 20s buys a mainland, and they just saw the iridescence and thought it was really cool. And I'm just like, they have no clue really what they're getting into in 4 to 5 years. And so I think that's why, same thing with Burmese pythons, right? They're cute and they're little, but they get really heavy, really big. Um, and so I think with the dwarf and super dwarf, it's just the way to go. It's the perfect animal for anybody, and you can really house it and something, a 40-gallon
You know,
aquarium can house a lot of them.
manageable. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, Gary, what you think, man? What advice would you give to someone looking to buy their first retake from a breeder? What's your advice?
My advice is to I like what Eric had to say. A lot of points that he hit on were spot on as far as I was concerned. But I think one of the things that's important is that you get hands-on, right? Like you go somewhere, if you've got a friend that's got a retic, or maybe you know someone that has a retic, and you can actually know what it's like to get one out. Because it's not just like reaching in and, oh, come on out. You know, you've got to tap train them, or you got to rub them with a hook. You got to turn off a food response. And, it's not if you get bit, it's when you get bit. You got to be okay with that. So these are things that I'm sure with all reptiles, that being a reptile owner, this is something that it's subject to happen. But the first time that somebody gets bit by a retic, or they get struck at because of a food response, they tend to get neglected. And then the next thing you know is they're being sold, or they're being given away. And I really think that research is the key. I think that, we go to these reptile expos and you get to hold a small retic that is super cute, it's super, whatever, and you want to take it home. But like Eric was saying, you're feeding it, rats one day, and then you're feeding it rabbits. And I'm one of those guys where half of my collection now eats rabbits. And I still unthaw the rabbit, pick it up by its ears with my tongs, and go, that's a cute animal.
Right.
And it's a different type of transition to go from a rodent to a rabbit. It really is. So and buying a retic as a baby, don't take on somebody's adult retic. That way you can grow with the retic, and its behaviors, its mannerisms. There's so much more to be said about buying a baby and growing with it than there is to take on a 8-foot or 10-foot animal that's been in somebody else's care. And now you're having to learn a potentially dangerous animal.
Agreed.
For sure. I have taken on some big adult retics that have had nasty attitudes, and I love doing it personally. But it's not for someone that doesn't know what they're doing, because and I work to, make that animal be better, right? Build that trust back. And it's a lot of work in progress. So, all right, just under 30 seconds. What about you? Do you think the retic industry is moving in the right direction, or do we need areas of improvement?
Well, I think everything needs areas of improvement, but when it comes to myself and my outlook on the retic community, I try to surround myself with positive people, and I believe that it's moving in the right direction. I try not to worry too much about other people. It's really about, what am I bringing to the retic community, and is that positive? And that's what's important to me.
And that's why I like you, Gary. You and I got that same mentality. It's like, I want everybody to eat. Not everybody's got to eat at my table, but I want everybody to eat. So just go out there and do you. All right, what you got, Merissa? What advice would you give for someone looking to buy their first retic from a breeder?
So I think, for one, when you're looking at breeders, you need to do your research. What I like to do is talk to other people that have bought snakes from them, just so, I don't know, I can hear from other people, like just the animals they've gotten, and that stuff. And then just like talking to them and seeing like if you get like, I don't know, I guess kind of like good vibes from them or not. Like, I don't know. I feel like retics definitely, you have to be more on your game with, just because, there's people out there, breeders out there mislabeling their retics. And so yeah, I just try to tell them, like, just if you're looking at dwarfs and super dwarfs, like, buy from somebody who is for sure going to sell you that animal.
So I think, more than just super dwarf and dwarf, because I know I'm known for that, but like as a whole, as the Retic Rundown, I like to make sure we're addressing the mainland side too, guys. And that's that, one of the things is, if you know people that have it, I would say listen to them if they have those animals, and they're going to help show you. But if you go too quick to that, I'm going to go to a show and I'm going to pick up the first $100, snake that I grab,
Right.
and then they throw all your advice out the window, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, last bit, and I'll let you finish up. Do you think the retic industry is moving in the right direction, or what areas do you think need improvement?
I mean, I guess it's going in the right direction. I mean, I think there could be a little less drama in the retic community, but
Don't we all?
but other than that, I mean, I feel like it's fine. I mean, I don't really like get involved in all this stuff. I just enjoy my snakes and do my
Yeah,
thing and you know.
no, I feel you. Okay, so I'll finish up. I'll finish this one up because I do have one piece of advice, guys. And that is, if when you're looking to buy your first retic from a breeder, make everything that they said. But my advice is going to come. The next one is when you go to look at them. You got that first one. The first one, it's a baby, and you're like, this is easy and they're fun. It's going to get big. Like Gary said it. Don't take on someone's adult, because you're 6 months with that little baby. You are not prepared. But two, do not. And as a breeder, your breeder should actually talk to you about this. If it was your first retic and now you come back and you bought 6 more because they're easy, guys, those 6 retics, depending on whether you got mainland super dwarfs, they're going to need enclosure upgrades. They poop food. Food is cheap when you have one snake. Okay.
Yes.
When you have one snake, food is cheap. I have 60. My food bill is about $400 every 2 months. All right. It gets expensive, guys. So what I would tell you, and what I would hope a breeder would tell you, is like, if they see you going off the rails. Now, if you go to 6 different breeders and buy 6 different retics, they can't help you. You're a first timer for everybody. But please, I've seen so many people overcommit themselves. They're not ready for it. And, they get big, right? And then that's when neglect starts and stuff. So that would be my one piece of closing advice, right? So, all right. Well, so we're moving into Q&A. We got a few minutes. We got about 5. Jason Phil, when you went looking to buy your first retic, what's one thing you wish the breeder would have told you beforehand? That's a great question. What you got, Eric? You don't need 3 minutes on this one, Mike. This is just Q&A.
What would I? Okay, so, that's a tough one. What do I wish they would tell me before I bought it?
Yeah, you got anything? Hey, if everybody's been honest with you, bro, you found great retic breeders.
Yeah, I mean, I got lucky, right? So that's the
Maybe
tough
so.
thing. I guess I would want them to tell me if it had anything wrong with it, right? Like maybe the wiggle or the tail or something like that, or a cataract in the eye or something like that, I guess would be a good one.
All right. What about you, Gary? What's one thing you wish a breeder would have told you beforehand?
I was thinking about that when you said it, and I can't think of anything. My first retic was purchased from Chris McVicker, and he told me that, hey, man, this animal can get larger than 10, 12 feet, And when you're reading this information, the one thing we have is the internet, right? So there's a lot of information. There's also a lot of misinformation. And when you're reading about super dwarfs stay 8 to 10 feet, I mean, that's what a lot of people might get stuck in their head. That like, I'm going to get an animal that's not going to get bigger than 10 feet. But that was one of the things that Chris told me. He says, this is a 50% Calistoga. That means there's 50% mainland mixed into it. So it could be on the smaller end, but it could be on the larger end too. You'll never know until it's full grown. So I don't think anybody's ever told me something where I thought, I wish they would have told me differently or given me better information.
That's cool. Merissa, what about you? Anything?
I don't really think I have anything to add to this one. I mean, I bought my first 4 retics from you guys, so I mean,
Bowen.
I asked, all the questions that I, needed to ask, and I remember like you told me that, Jag was gonna come with his little like scale deformity, and he's got his little cleft lip, and so there was no surprises.
No surprises there.
So
yeah. I mean, I get it. So that's cool. I'm glad that you all have had like good, positive experiences. I think you guys all brought something good and positive from like a customer's perspective. So breeders, if y'all are listening, you should go watch this, listen to our customers. That's one thing I will say. I think the biggest thing is it's about listening to your customer as a breeder, right? So if I know, like Gary hits me up or Merissa hits me up, I don't talk to Merissa about genetics as far as like it's gonna breed and do this. What I do tell her is I send her cute videos where I'm like, see, look, it's really sweet, and I play with its head, and it's very pretty, right? Because that's what the customer wants. Like you don't talk to them. You start confusing. I've seen a lot of breeders do this. They will start talking like genetics and breeding potential. You're pushing an agenda on them that they are not ready for, and they don't want, and it actually leads to confusion, and then they leave your table, or leave your booth, or leave your morph market, whatever. So that would be my closing statement, guys, is if you're breeding, listen to what your customer really is asking you for, and then give them what they're wanting, with honesty and integrity, obviously, but I mean, don't try and turn them into a breeder just because you are, But, well, guys, once again, I want to say thank you to Eric Blick for filling in on the clutch. You are the man. I appreciate you so much.
Appreciate the time. My pleasure.
It would have been a little bit tighter with just 2. We'd have made it work though. Gary, thank you so much. Excuse me for coming on. All right, 100%. Yeah. Merissa, again, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it. Guys, closing out, I want to thank Mike behind the scenes and stuff for making sure everything's happening the way it's happening, and the Herp Collectors Network. Make sure you're supporting USARK Florida. They need our help more than ever. And if you guys want to continue to keep these animals, somebody's got to fight for us. So they're the ones doing it. Hit them up. Thank you guys so much. It has been a great hour, and we will see you guys later. Episode 12 in 2 weeks.
Welcome to the Retic Rundown, where the giants roam and the legends are found. Uncoil the truth, the wisdom is sound in the Retic Rundown. We're breaking new ground. From the jungles deep to the captive scene, Retics rule the world if you know what I mean. With patterns so bold and sizes extreme, in the Retic Rundown, we're breaking new ground. Welcome to the Retic Rundown, where the giants roam and the legends are found. Uncoil the truth and let the wisdom resound. In the Retic Rundown, we're breaking new ground. Unlocking secrets of the serpentine kings, sharing knowledge, stories, everything it brings. From breeders to keepers, we pull the strings in the Retic Rundown. Hear the echo rings. Welcome to the Retic Rundown, where the giants roam and the legends are found. Uncoil the truth and let the wisdom resound. In the Retic Rundown, we're breaking new ground. Welcome, Retic lovers. Welcome, Retic lovers.